welcome Marianne.
Thank you, John.
Welcome to our sofa. We have a show, I guess, inspired by the solstice, which is coming up in 8 or 9 days.
Yeah, kind of. Although there is research that, Mike Parker Pearson's work at Durrington Walls, where everything's aligned on the midwinter solstice, is making people reconsider whether Stonehenge is actually a midwinter site, not a midsummer site. So it's possible that we're 6 months out with our celebrations. Stonehenge is really special because the techniques that they use to build the stones and to put a trilithon is tri-3-lith stone. So it's the horseshoe shape with the two uprights and then a lintel stone. The upright stone has a kind of a pointy bit at the top, and the lintel stone has a kind of a cup. The mortise is this bit and the tenon is this bit, and they fit together really effectively. And once it's on, it's on. It doesn't move, and that's why it survived 4,500
you can see that
years.
You can see that in some of the stones.
Yeah, you can see it
that are
from
missing.
The ones that are fallen and from the ones that are missing. So if you look at the top of the stones, and you'll see a really
it's like a little pin
shaped, flat, and then a pin, a stone pin, inbuilt pin. There's a couple of tombs, Newgrange in Ireland and Maes Howe in Orkney, up in the Northern Islands of Scotland, that are very clearly aligned with midsummer, with the rising of the midsummer sun. Now these are tombs, they're passage graves, and so it's got a really narrow passage, and from the inside it's only that day that the sun rises, and it kind of sends an incredible shaft of light into the tomb. Now that's midsummer, and it's tombs, it's really enclosed places, and it's about the dead, or perhaps rebirth. But Stonehenge is different, is a site, part of a monument complex that's all about midwinter and feasting, maybe banishing the darkness. It might be looking forward to the spring.
The change.
25 years ago in Northamptonshire, there was 4 round mounds that were going to be excavated because they were going to be destroyed for gravel quarrying. What the archaeologists found was essentially groundbreaking. At a later point, there'd been cremations pushed into the sides of the mound, but below that there was this lattice of cattle bones that had rotted away to make this incredible lacework, and then these stones, these big limestones. Below the limestones, there was a wooden platform that had then collapsed, and under the platform...
How exciting.
I know. Under the platform, at the very heart of the mound, there was a chamber, and in the chamber was a curled-up man's body. Unbelievable grave goods. There were 11 arrowheads, there were flints, there was an amber ring, there were jet buttons, there was a wrist guard, and this beautiful pottery beaker. And one of the most incredible things, John, about this place, it's a place called Earthlingborough in Northamptonshire, was that there was a flint dagger, and it was exquisite level of craftsmanship, and it had never, ever been used. Huh? No microware whatsoever. Someone had made it specially to be put into a grave, never to be seen again. Now this is an early Bronze Age to Middle Bronze Age way of burying the dead. Prior to that, in the Neolithic, the late Stone Age, it was all about communal burial. It wasn't about individuals, it was about a collectivity and about the ancestors. Now, a brilliant example of that is the West Kennet Long Barrow. It's about 25 miles away from Stonehenge, it's near Avebury. And it's about 100 metres long, it's a rectangle, it's got ditches on either side, and 5 stone chambers, and a central entrance passageway. The thing about this is that it's about a communal ancestors. It's a world where the living meet the realm of the ancestors. It was built in farmland. These were early farmers, and this wasn't a kind of special private place where they decided to build this giant tomb. It's right slap bang in the middle of the fields, in the middle of the animals, in the middle of settlements. It's a real connection. There's not really a distinction between life and death in the same way that we understand it now. When you're put into the tomb, you stop being John, you start becoming part of a bigger group of ancestors. In the Neolithic, what they did was that they wouldn't, someone wouldn't die and they put you into the kind of community tomb, they followed a process called excarnation, which is after you die, they lay out the body somewhere until the flesh had rotted away or perhaps been eaten by animals. We're not sure. Sometimes you find gnaw marks on the bones, but other times they look quite well preserved, as if they've been kept somewhere safe while the flesh rots away. And then what they do is they collect up the bones and the skull and your thigh bones particularly. They're a big fan of skulls and thigh bones.
Pirates, they're pirates.
Yeah, it's the crossbones, exactly. It's the skull and the crossbones are the key bones that seem to be really precious. So they collect up these bones and they then put some of them, not all of them, but some of them into the communal long barrow. Now, okay, so we're at 2400 BC.
Something happens.
At a certain point, West Kennet Long Barrow has been in existence for about 1,000 years. The funny thing is, they've only put 46 individuals in there. So it's not sure whether these are somehow special people who get put in there, or whether there was a point at which they put, you know, the first 46 people to die, go into the tomb after they've been excarnated, selected through, and they, you know, choose the correct bones or the special bones. And then it kind of goes into disuse, or whether it's ongoing use with those special ancient bones. We don't know, we can't be sure. But at 2400 BC, at a certain point, they decide that it's not acceptable for this long barrow to be open, for you to be able to access it, for those bones or for the spirits of the ancestors or whatever that tomb contains to be open. So you've got 5 chambers. In the centre chamber, they put mostly the bones of adult men. And in the 4 outside chambers, there's more women and children's bones. But not only do they fill the spaces inside the tomb with soil and stones, they then roll 3 massive sarsen stones, huge, huge boulders from the local area, in front of the cave. This is absolutely definitive. They've sealed it, and that's it. You're not going back in there. And the next time people enter the tomb, they actually dig a big hole from the top down through the barrow and they smash into it, because these stones are huge.
It's not possible to move it.
No, it's only in modern times that they've been able to roll the stones away and excavate the whole thing. It's a burial. It was discovered when they were excavating to build a new school in a village called Amesbury. It's really close to Stonehenge. It's about 5 kilometres south. And it's the richest early Bronze Age burial that they've ever found in Britain. It's got over 100 grave goods. So 3 beakers, not just one for the Amesbury archer. This was a serious big man with serious connections. He had 3 copper knives, bone pins, a metalworking kit, which is incredibly high, prestigious value, status object. They call him the archer because it looks like he was buried with a whole haft of arrows that had been thrown into the grave with him, possibly ritually broken and then thrown in. But obviously all we get is the arrowhead, rather than the shaft or the feathers or what have you at the back. So all we find is everything gets flattened and squashed down, and then you get arrowheads here, 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 here. Probable that he wasn't actually an all-action hero warrior, because he had a really bust-up left leg. When he died, he'd actually lost the kneecap, and the infection was so bad that it probably would have been oozing pus all the time and caused him excruciating pain. And the whole left leg had kind of withered, and his right leg was much more muscly. So he'd obviously survived whatever kind of traumatic injury this was, and managed to get about, probably with a limp, probably in quite excruciating pain, and he probably smelt a bit. But nonetheless,
he was around.
He is seriously high status.